I will discuss the concept of existentialism. Existentialism exists. A derivative Germanic word means emerge. In existentialism, as explained by John Paul Sartre, there are two definitions. There are two categories: being in itself and being for itself. Being itself is for objects such as tree, chair, table. Being for itself is the consciousness or awareness of existing. We human, the only one that realize we exist, because what exists means is to be purposeful in life, to give life meaning, be responsible, and make progress in life. That is what exist means. There are three fundamental principles in existentialism: freedom, responsibility, and essence. Freedom. This is what John Paul Sartre explained. We have to be free from bad faith. Bad faith means that we have to free from any social norm. Even for John Paul Sartre, to have a fully total freedom, we need to also be free from religion, because for him, to be fully freedom, we have to be on our way. Even if we stick to religion, that is not a total freedom for him. Responsibility. In responsibility, you are free to choose any decision, but you have to bear in mind that the cost of the consequences and the consequences of your choice is at your own risk. For them, there is no right or wrong decision, because truth is subjective. It is an experience by each individual, though it is different from each other. So for existentialists, we cannot condemn them that this is wrong and this is right, because for them it is subjective, so there is no right or wrong. Essence. One of the famous word or phrase for essence is existence precedes essence, though it is very controversial, as it contradicts with religions such as Islam, because in Islam we are given essence before we exist, such as we are the Khalifa. It is mentioned in the Al-Quran. However, existentialists oppose this idea, because they give an example of a knife that were made by swordmen, essentially to cut off meat, to slice meat. So for them, it is very, very wrong, because we human, when we exist, we have to find our own essence, we have to find our own purpose, we have to discover and explore our own self, so we can be meaningful in life and have goal in life. So in Islam, essence precedes existence. It is different from existentialism, where they say existence precedes essence. So however, the meaning of Islam giving us essence first, such as we are the Khalifa. So it is a basic and fundamental, or a fixed guideline that is very universal. So it is very basic. We need to be Khalifa, which is mean we are held responsible to make peace in the world, to make the world a better place. So that is what essence precedes existence mean in Islam.
Thank you to Brother Ismail for the explanation about the concept of existentialism. Then we proceed to understand how the existentialism exists. Firstly, this thought exists in 18th century and become more developed in 19th century until 20th century and spreading in Europe. Then it was found by Søren Kierkegaard and Friedrich Nietzsche, both of them claim as founding father of existentialism. The factors why this thought exists is all the existentialist thinkers share a common concern with what is called as human condition and existential questions too, such as what am I, what does it mean to be human, which they're trying to find the answers. Besides that, they also have differed widely on evaluations of the human condition, and that's the reason why this thought exists, because it is so tough to define. We move to the history of most famous one of existentialism thought, which it began by the most influential existentialist, John Paul Sartre, between 1913 and 1970, and this is the version which our group discussed a lot. He renewed many of the pillars of existentialism, such as existence preceding essence, absurdity, and freedom, as told by Brother IZZUDDIN just now, which existence preceding essence and freedom are things that been focused in Paul Sartre's thought. During the post-World War II year, the existentialism became a universal term for the cultures and for radical critics of universal principles. Then it began to decline after the World War II and only expanding in shared concepts with later movements such as modernism. Even though the movement has ended, existential thought can still be found in the work of many pre-modern philosophers and writers, and in many contemporary mediums of art such as movie and television. Next, I will pass this to Sister Nadia to continue her presentation.
Thank you, Sister
LIYANA for this kind of explanatory about history of existentialism. And as mentioned by Sister LIYANA, that Jean-Paul Sartre had renowned many of pillars of existentialism. One of the characteristics is human perception of life. Regarding to Paul Sartre's famous phrase, existence comes before essence. It means that the human being as a being is nothing and he will not be anything until he becomes what he makes of himself. It means that your existence comes first, then the choice that we make will make who we are. Next, for their characteristic number 2 is disbelief in God. Sartre believes that there is no determinism, which means there is no God or any power to guide or control man in his choice. In other words, man is free and responsible for what he does. However, this freedom also becomes a slightly horrifying realization because man is condemned to be free because once thrown in the world, he is responsible for what he does. Last but not least, for their third characteristic is the thought that choice that they make is the ultimate evaluator, which in other words, if man is free to choose, the option that man choose could be the determiner for his life. As the bait of good, the exercise of choice is the core of authentic human existence in which man becomes intensely aware of his own personal existence. That's all from me, and let's get to know what is the impact of existentialism from Sister Saffa.
So thank you, Sister NURNABILAH, for the explanation about the principle and characteristic of existentialism. So next I'm gonna talk about the impact of existentialism in a few fields, such as in the field of arts and in society and education, but it will present by Brother IZZUDDIN. So first, in the field of art, the existentialism have a very big and huge impact in this field, and obviously we can see in the movement of expressionism. Many of expressionism artists got influenced by the existentialist writing and thinking, such as Jackson Pollock and Connie. For example, in one of most famous artwork by Connie called Woman One, in this art he tried to express the struggle of representing the woman from himself. As mentioned earlier, we already learned that existentialist belief man himself are creating and finding his own meaning. So, as we can, so it's related with this art and the concept of existentialism. So this art also showing the struggle of existentialists in making themselves or their essence. Next, in the film also one of art. In the film, existentialism also have with impact in terms of genres, from science fiction to action flick and even the comedies. For example, in one film called The Matrix 1999 by Andy and Lauren Wachowskis, this film noted for their multiple influence to religion, mythology, philosophy, and other literary and cinematic works. And it demonstrates a similar theme with the main character Thomas. His realization that he is free to make his own decision and can transcend to become an overman, as my friend told before, that existentialists are free to make a choice in their life. So it's related with this movie character. So next, the impact in society. We know that existentialism started in Europe, so the existentialism philosophy and ideology became popular in Europe and it affected the European society. This ideology evolved to change Victorian social conventions towards a culture of nudity, permissiveness, and open expression. This cultural idea influenced Europe to become more hedonistic and nihilistic in its outlook on the world. So, European society become a civilization with pessimistic attitude on life. They have a very bad attitude, and as for that, a society with a negative outlook on life are not going to have enough children, or not going to have enough children to replace themselves, because they are not believe with this world, because they are thinking that this place is a bad place. So who would want to bring a child into a world they believe was a bad place?
Now we move to education. In education, according to existentialists, a good education emphasizes on individuality. In class, there's a few methods that contains existentialism theory. As Sister NURNABILAH said that existentialism stress on the freedom of human choice. For example, project-based learning in school encourage students to create their own idea and interest for doing their project. Second one is students are taught that their choice have consequences. as we know in existentialism, emphasize on responsibility. For example, when the student make a bad decision, the educators need to teach them in order for the student to understand and realize that every choices in their life do influence the outcome on their life, in their lives. And the second one is essence. The school prepare the student to be a holistic student, so they can become beneficial to the society. For example, they are taught with two education system: Islamic education and synthesis, which is the conventional education. When the students are taught with these two systems, they have a wider knowledge, a wider perspective. They become more skillful. Therefore, they can become beneficial to the society with their resources. Okay, thank you, and we move to the next presenter.
Okay, thank you to my previous presenter. So let's continue to my point. Okay, now we're going to talk about strengths and shortcomings of existentialism based on Islamic worldview. So I come along with a proof after that. So basically, existentialism is not necessary to be negative in Islamic worldview, but in the same time, it will be something positive. So what is the positive side and negative side of this existentialism ideologies? First, about the freedom. Okay. Whenever existentialism says people given the total freedom to act in this world, so the positive side, it will make them creative in this world. They will generate something new. They will use all the creation in this world that provide by Allah SWT to assist their life. Because Allah SWT said in the Quran, Surah Baqarah ayat 29, He is the one who created everything in the earth for you. So we humankind will get the benefits of what Allah SWT have provided in this. And the second is about the responsibility and meaning of life. Whenever people have gifted the meaning of life, but existentialism say we are responsible of what we have done, so we will not blame others of what we have done. It is the positive side, because we have determined that action, so we have to responsible of what we act in this world. Allah SWT say Allah never wrong them, but they who do cruel or wrong upon themselves. Next, we are talking about the negative side or the shortcoming. The first is about freedom. According to Ali Shariati, whenever people are gifted the total freedom, they will act in this world like animal, because we will fulfill our own desire to act in this world and regard the wrong as true and true as wrong. Because Allah Ta'ala say Allah has created upon you the human nature, so do not change this human nature or this creation by Allah. Surah Ar-Rum ayat 30. And the last one is about responsibility and also the meaning of life. Whenever we do not follow the guidance by Allah SWT based on existentialism, said that we have no absolute guidance, so we have no one to seek for help and no one to seek for supplication. So Allah SWT said in the Quran, "O Muhammad, if my servant ask for me, let's say that I am truly near with them." So it is from Surah Al-Zariyat ayat 56.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. So I'm happy to see all of you here. Okay, before that, I want to ask about something we want to discuss today. Do you know about existentialism, my friend?
Oh, good morning, Abban. Oh, existentialism. Yes, I do know about it. It is one of Western ideologies.
And I think that existentialism is an interesting ideology. I have read about it, and it says that this ideology focuses on three bases. Does anyone know what the three are?
Oh, I took a look at this topic and found out that this is the ideology to come up with three bases. The first is freedom, the second is responsibility, and the third one is meaning of essence.
Oh, so how can we understand those three basics? Since I also have read some articles that talk about existentialism, and existentialism is basically an ideology to seek a true meaning of existence as a human being. How can we relate with those three concepts?
Sure, that's true, Nabila. Okay, to answer that in a simple way, when someone realizes about his existence in this world, he should be free to determine his life and affairs. Since no one created us, we have no creator, they are free to do whatever they want. And they are also responsible for what they do, whether good or bad. No one could prevent them from anything. And existence of humans also has to find their meaning of being, and this meaning determines for whatever he wants to be.
It is one of Western ideologies that was founded in the 19th century and started in Europe. It exists when people start to question a lot about their life and want to find out a concrete meaning about it.
Oh, then is their characteristic and principle different compared to other Western ideology? How do we want to differentiate them?
Based on my research, they have some quite different opinions than other ideologies, and because existentialism characteristic basically can be understood clearly in their concept, since they are very concerned about human existence, they also emphasize human perception. For them, humans are born to be nothing until they become what that makes of themselves.
Wait, Nabila, I want to ask, do they believe in God actually?
They also do not believe in God with no determinism in human existence. Therefore, humans are cursed to be free, the last human choice as an ultimate evaluator. And no one can force someone or guide each other. Instead, they are responsible for what they want to do, whether good or bad.
Disbelief in God, oh, that looks awful. Even it advocates for the meaning of life. I think this ideology should be stopped.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, it has been practiced in this world even nowadays and has impacted certain parts of our life, such as in the field of arts, education, and even society itself. As you can see today in our school, educators encourage students to make individual decisions, and they also learn that every choice has consequences, such as determining their studies, and so on. Don't you realize that this is one of the principles of existentialism that we apply in our life?
Oh, okay, I get it. Now we could see what the existentialism actually is, but in the certain circumstances, I think existentialism is not necessary to be bad, because for a positive way, whenever a pupil is given the total freedom, we can generate something new, or we will be creative in this world, because Allah provide all in this world for humankind. Like Allah SWT says in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 29, He is the one who created everything in the earth for you.
So, what about determining responsibility? Does it have strength too? It could make them act something wrong.
Yes, that is the strength of determining responsibility. However, they cannot blame others for what they have decided. And when they ignore the guidance of Allah, this is on their fault. As Allah has mentioned in Ali Imran verse 117, Allah never wronged them, but they wronged themselves.
Okay, this is about the strength, but in the other hand, you can see existentialism also bring the shortcomings in the negative way, because whenever people is given the total freedom, we also will be act in this world like animal, because we regard the true as wrong and the wrong as true. Allah SWT has created human with a human nature. Allah SWT said in Surah Ar-Rum, Allah who is created upon you the human nature, so do not change His creation.
And also, when they do not have someone to rely on, and when they make a bad decision, they feel desperate and hopeless when they have no one to rely on. Different from Muslim, when we are in desperate moment, we supplicate to Allah. And this is what, as Allah mentioned in Surah Baqarah, verse 186. When my servant asks you, O Prophet, about me, I am truly near. I respond to one's prayer when they call upon me.
So, to complete our discussion today, existentialism is an ideology that specifically refers to human existence to determine their life on their own. And basically, it is based on freedom, and everybody is responsible to choose their actions.
I totally agree with you, Liana, and thank you everyone for your good cooperation in sharing information through our discussion just now.
Okay, welcome. Thank you.
The A to Z of isms, existentialism. There they are, the quintessential existentialists, lounging in a Parisian left-bank cafe, discussing the meaninglessness of life. There is some truth behind every detail of this stereotype, but in its totality, it's a misleading caricature. It owes much to Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, both philosophers, writers, and famous public intellectuals in France from the Second World War until Sartre's death in 1980. Sartre argued that the fundamental principle of existentialism is that existence precedes essence. In other words, we have to create our own lives, our own selves, our own values. God does not exist. We are born without a destiny. It's all up to us. We are therefore condemned to be free. Condemned because our freedom is far from that of the carefree hedonistic consumer on a shopping spree. We have an absolute responsibility for ourselves, which can lead to despair and anguish, even questioning the point of living, the classic existential crisis. This existential angst has not gone away. It's the human condition, as real today as ever. Political freedom and material prosperity end the struggle for basic existence and survival, but only increase the struggle to find genuine meaning for our existence. Why are we here? How can we make a difference? How should we really live? Sartre took our freedom as given, but his partner and fellow philosopher Simone de Beauvoir pointed out that it's not always that simple. In her seminal book The Second Sex, she argued that society and political structures often conspire to hold women back. Camus argued that yes, we are free, but the world itself is absurd. He retold the classical myth of Sisyphus, condemned forever to push a rock up a hill, only to see it roll back down, for him to start all over again. Like Sisyphus, our task is to accept our own absurd lives cheerfully. Wonderful though life can be, it has no ultimate purpose, and we all end as dust. However, not all existentialists believe we live in a godless, senseless universe. The father of existentialism, the 19th century Dane Søren Kierkegaard, believed in the Christian God, but argued reason and evidence can never prove that he exists. We have to take a non-rational leap of faith. At its heart then, existentialism is not really all about meaninglessness. It's about the responsibility we all have to make the right choices in life, both for ourselves and for others. A heavy responsibility indeed, and just as important now as in post-war Paris.